Listen closely, because the landscape in Philadelphia is shifting right before our eyes. We are witnessing a series of strategic maneuvers that will define the trajectory of this franchise for years to come. From high-stakes defensive signings to the shocking ripples surrounding our offensive weapons, the intensity is reaching a boiling point. I have the inside information, the cold, hard facts, and the perspective you need to understand what is truly happening behind the scenes. This is not just a typical offseason. This is a total overhaul, and we are going to break it all down right now.
The Philadelphia Eagles have officially flexed their financial muscle, securing a top-tier cornerback on a massive $15 million deal. This is not just a transaction, it is a statement of intent. When you look at the landscape of the National Football League, you realize that secondary play is the difference between hoisting a Lombardi trophy and going home early in the playoffs. Howie Roseman has looked at the defensive backfield and decided that enough is enough. He identified the target, he negotiated the terms, and he brought the talent to Philadelphia. Let me be clear, this is exactly the kind of move that championship-caliber teams make when they know their window is wide open. You do not spend $15 million on a whim. You spend that kind of capital when you are looking for a game changer, a shutdown corner who can erase the opponent's best wide receiver. The energy in the building is palpable. This signing sends a message to the rest of the NFC East that the Eagles are not interested in rebuilding, they are interested in dominating. I have been reporting on this league for a long time, and I can tell you that when a team invests this heavily in the defensive backfield, they are preparing for a deep postseason run. It is precision, it is calculated, it is ruthless. Now, some might question the cap space allocation, but I am here to tell you that in today's NFL, you cannot put a price tag on a lockdown defender. The secondary has been a point of contention for too long, and this move finally addresses that glaring weakness with absolute authority. Watching the tape, you see a player who understands the nuances of the position, who has the speed to recover and the intelligence to read the quarterback's eyes. This is a masterclass in roster construction. It is aggressive, it is necessary, and it is the kind of move that makes me wonder if the front office is cleaning house elsewhere to balance the books. Because when you spend big on one side of the ball, you often have to sacrifice on the other. That is the nature of the beast in this league. You cannot have it all. And the reality of the salary cap era is that every massive signing comes with a hidden cost that the fans do not always see until it is too late. We have secured the perimeter, but at what cost to the rest of our defensive identity? Is this the final piece of the puzzle, or is it just the beginning of a massive roster purge that will leave some of our most beloved players looking for new homes? The secondary is fortified, but the defense is about to look very different than what you have grown accustomed to watching.
If you want to keep getting exclusive insights like this, subscribe now. Do not miss a single update as we peel back the layers of these major roster decisions. Hit that button and stay in the loop. The reality of the salary cap has struck hard in Philadelphia, and it has hit the defensive front where it hurts the most. We are talking about the departure of a fan-favorite defensive starter who has signed a massive $24.75 million deal with the Houston Texans. This is the brutal side of the business that I keep telling you about. You simply cannot keep everyone. When you look at what this player brought to the table, the energy, the sack production, the ability to change the complexion of a game in a single snap, you realize the magnitude of this loss. It is a gut punch to the culture of this defense. I have spoken to league sources who were not surprised, but that does not make it any easier for the faithful in Philadelphia to swallow. You have a player who embodies the toughness of this city, a guy who leaves it all on the grass, now heading to Houston to anchor their defensive line. It is a cold, calculated business move by the front office, prioritizing future flexibility over current continuity. I understand the economics, but from an emotional standpoint, this is a devastating blow. The pass rush is the heart and soul of this team, and losing a primary engine for that unit creates a vacuum that is incredibly difficult to fill. You have to ask yourself, how do you replace that kind of production and that kind of veteran leadership? You do not just draft a replacement and expect the same results. This is a significant setback for a defensive unit that was already under pressure to perform at a higher level. The Texans are getting a warrior, a man who knows how to win and understands the pressure of the big stage. Meanwhile, the Eagles are left trying to retool on the fly. This is the chess match that never ends. One moment you are signing a top-tier cornerback to fix the back end, and the next moment you are watching your best defensive playmaker walk out the door to find greener pastures. It is a relentless cycle of turnover. The strategic decision here is clear. The front office is betting on a younger, cheaper rotation to fill the void, but the risk is monumental. If that bet fails, the defensive coordinator is going to be under the microscope from day one. You cannot lose this level of talent and expect to remain elite without a contingency plan that is absolutely perfect. The question that remains is whether this departure is truly a budgetary necessity, or if there is something deeper going on behind the scenes that the organization is not telling us.
Because when you let a player of this caliber leave for a division rival or even just out of the conference, you are essentially admitting that your championship window has changed its focus. Could these defensive changes be linked to even bigger, more shocking rumors about the offensive side of the ball?
If you thought the defensive shakeup was intense, wait until you hear about the firestorm surrounding our offensive powerhouse. We are looking at a situation where the name of a star wide receiver is being whispered in trade rumors, and now we have reports of a 4-team wish list. This is absolute insanity. We are talking about one of the most dynamic players in the entire National Football League, a guy who fundamentally changes how every defensive coordinator prepares for this team. When you start hearing about trade talks, you have to look at the source and the motivation. Is this just noise, or is there legitimate friction building up behind the scenes? The fact that a list of preferred destinations has even surfaced is a massive red flag. It suggests that the relationship between the player and the organization might be more strained than anyone in the front office wants to admit. I have been digging into this, talking to people in the know, and the situation is fluid, volatile, and quite frankly concerning. You do not just trade away an elite talent unless there is something fundamentally broken. If the Eagles are even entertaining these conversations, they have to be absolutely certain that they have a plan to replace that production, because if they lose him, the entire offensive identity changes overnight. We are not just talking about a receiver, we are talking about the primary target, the guy who draws coverage away from everyone else and opens up the field. Without him, the quarterback is going to be under much more pressure to make plays with a depleted arsenal. The intensity of these rumors is off the charts. It's the kind of story that keeps front offices up at night and sends fans into a panic. Every team in the league would love to have a player of this caliber on their roster, and the mere thought of him wearing another jersey is enough to make any diehard fan sick to their stomach. This is about power, leverage, and the cold reality of player empowerment in the modern NFL. If he wants out, he is going to find a way to make it happen, and that is a terrifying prospect for the leadership in Philadelphia. The trade talks are not just idle chatter. They are the result of a disconnect that needs to be addressed immediately. If this is not handled with extreme care, it could destroy the team's chances before the season even begins. Are we looking at the start of a total rebuild, or can the front office salvage this relationship and keep the core intact? This is the most critical moment of the offseason, and the decisions made right now will determine the fate of this franchise for years to come. Is the leadership finally losing their grip on the locker room?
We are at a crossroads, folks. The movements we have analyzed today are not just headlines. They are the architectural blueprints for the future of this team. Howie Roseman has a lot on his plate, and the pressure is mounting with every passing hour. We have seen the secondary get a boost, we have seen a defensive pillar walk away, and now we see the clouds of uncertainty gathering around our most lethal offensive threat. It is a lot to process. I want to hear from you. Are you buying what the front office is selling? Or are you concerned that these moves are pushing the team in the wrong direction? Drop your thoughts, keep it loud, and stay tuned. We are not going anywhere until we get the truth.